industrial system has inflicted on our community. I believe this is happening to us. So America would never do a thing like this to us.
Anthony Giaccino is an Emmy Award-winning documentary filmmaker living in Brooklyn and New York. And his first feature-length documentary, The Camden 28, perhaps you've heard of it, was nominated for a Writers Guild of America Award for Outstanding Achievement in Writing for the Screen. And I would like to invite Anthony to the stage to introduce Monsignor Doyle.
In the early morning hours of August 22nd, 1971, FBI agents arrested anti-Vietnam War activists as they destroyed records in the draft board here in Camden, New Jersey, a crime punishable by up to 47 years in federal prison. The men and women arrested that hot August night called themselves America's Conscience, but the government called them the Camden 28. The highly unorthodox trial of the Camden 28 began on February 5th, 1973, and lasted 63 days. Although the group engaged 3 attorneys, the activists also served as their own lawyers, and far from pleading innocent to the charges, they proudly proclaimed their guilt, asking the jury to nullify the laws against breaking and entering, and to acquit them as a means of saying that the country had had enough of the illegal and immoral war in Vietnam. They also asked the jury to acquit on the grounds that the raid would not have happened without the help of a self-admitted FBI informer and provocateur. As the defense presented its case, each of the activists gave opening statements, as well as cross-examined and called witnesses, among them Howard Zinn, who testified for several hours about the history of the Vietnam War and of civil disobedience. After 15 weeks in court and 43 witnesses, the trial went to the jury, but not before individual members of the Camden 28 gave their closing statements, including Father Michael Doyle, who will now read for the first time since the trial, from his own closing, a truly inspired defense of his and the group's actions. For when he stood before the jury that day, he did so without a speech in hand, without memorizing what he planned to say. The words came to him at that moment, and they came from the heart. And the jury's decision, on May 20th, 1973, they returned a verdict of not guilty on all charges. It was the first complete legal victory for the anti-war movement in 5 years of such draft court actions. Years later, the Supreme Court Justice William Brennan called Camden one of the great trials of the 20th century. And I think you'll understand why he may have said that after listening to Father Doyle's closing arguments.
Father Doyle.
Members of the jury, 1 month ago, on Holy Thursday, the Camden 28 had a service in St. Paul's Church across the street from this courtroom. You were here, but we couldn't invite you. We read some words from the Bible, from, I suppose, the most famous transcript of any trial anywhere. It was the trial of Christ before Pilate. Father Ned Murphy preached and reminded us that in it, Christ said, "I came to testify to the truth." Pilate, who was a rising Roman politician, said, "What is truth?" Then he walked away. Father Murphy said that Christ never spoke to Pilate again because he didn't measure up to the demands of truth. I think that the issue in this trial is the issue of truth. And it's not merely the truth of significant facts, but it is the fact of significant and vital truth. And that truth is the value and the dignity of one human life. It's not the words I'm saying about it. It's not the written word of it. It is the energy of it in the heart of the living people. It is vital energy, and with that vital energy, one realizes truth, one deals with it, and one speaks it. Truth is action, and it must consistently oppose the forces of death. It must support life, and that, to my mind, is truth, and it is at stake in this courtroom. It cannot be fitted within the prescriptions of law, because law is too small for it. The heart is hardly big enough for it. That struggle to support life and care for it and to oppose death is very strong and sometimes desperate. Also, courage is very necessary if one is to come by truth, because it could put terrible demands upon us. Boris Pasternak in Dr. Zhivago says that sacrifice is the supreme and vital energy of men. George Bernard Shaw says that Christ is killed in every generation by those who have no imagination. So you have to have imagination to sense the value of life. Law is very useful in helping us to protect life, but it is not as good as life. Law is the banks of the river, and the water is the life. The stream flows, but the banks must widen if the stream gets fuller. The law must make room for life, and not the other way around, ever. Now, I believe that you will get the courage that you need to do what you must, because if you try, you will find it. It is said that the mountain gives its strength to the climber. So in your deliberations, and in the pain of that, you will find the strength and the energy and the courage to do what you ought to do. And the truth of it will make you free. That's a promise. I think that the great woman of justice is blind, as she ought to be, trying to be fair and not give any advantage to the other side. But I think that the woman has been used by her own department, and the thing is becoming very oppressive. So now I'm here before you, and I am honestly very much in awe at the power you possess, and in admiration of past people of this nation and preceding nations who devised a plan that the testing of truth should be in the hands of the people. You are 12 people called in to try to find the truth in uncertain times, as 12 were often called before to make great decisions and make a great difference. You have been called by lot, chosen people, who have been called from more than 1 million people in South Jersey, in the counties of Atlantic and Burlington and Camden and Cumberland and Salem, which means peace. You are the conscience of South Jersey at this moment in the 70s of this century. That power is in your hands, and you're going to have to give a solemn verdict on people who opposed the war in the last decade. You're going to have to decide whether these people were right or wrong, went too far or what. You came from small towns in South Jersey, where the war in Vietnam reached into those 12 towns and killed 93 people. There were 10 from Vineland, and 5 from Millville, and 1 from Lindenwold, and 3 from Pennsauken, and 9 from Salem, and 2 from Pine Hill, and 6 from Penns Grove, and 12 from Atlantic City, 2 from Cinnaminson, 8 from Gloucester, 4 from Hamilton, and 31 from Camden. They all died. I have respect for them. I have respect for any person, whoever was caught in the entanglements of war, who lost anything in it. The wars, I remember them with shame. I will remember your faces too, as long as I live. I will remember clearly what you said when Judge Fisher asked you the questions. I was very gratified to hear you say, many of you say, that the war was senseless, that it was a mistake. Now that is good. But once you begin to accept the fact that war is a mistake, what are you to do? What do you do when a child is on fire in a war that was a mistake? And you can't extinguish the flame, the napalm flame, with water or anything else. What do you do about that? What do you do with an old man whose bones are splintered by anti-personnel weapons in a war that was a mistake? We have no answer for that. There is no answer in the law for a child on fire in a war that was a mistake. So you scream and you holler and you do what you can. You tear up draft files, tags of death for people to say that this has to stop. It's a mistake, it is wrong. The top leaders are safe. The men who decide that war should be fought, don't fight them. What do you say when they give back to parents a folded flag for a son? I sense that this is a historic jury, that you are at the edge of history, that you are faced with making decisions on people who oppose non-violently a war that was a mistake and that was never declared. You are so fortunate because what you do is lawful. You have to answer to no one except the conscience that you have. I want you to take the courage to do that because it is right. It is your chance, and you will never get it again. 7 of you are women. You know in a woman's way the meaning of life, the rhythms of life. You have seen the consequence of war in the last half century. You are a free people, and you can make a decision, and it will hold, and it will make a difference. It would be so incredibly good if a legitimate chosen group of people like you could redeem our action with your own understanding and lift it up to the level of acceptance. Finally, I send down one piece of evidence to you. It is a poem, and the name of it is The Fool. I present that and myself. Someone said this morning, I think Mr. Carey's, that we are around 2 million word mark in this trial. Now, I don't feel comfortable that our prosecutor, John Barry, has the final closing statement. I am not comfortable that he has the last word. But I was thinking about that, and I was thinking that he does not have the last word. You have the last word. And then I was thinking about that, and I think you have the last 2 words. And we finish up with a little poem which is American and very beautiful. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. 2 roads diverged in a wood and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. I would like you to take that road, and we will all